Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming, and you have chosen to listen to another Snap Judgement review. What is a Snap Judgement review if you've never listened before? Well, I think reviewers nowadays get a little caught up in 100%ing the game or getting the game to completion. I think they miss out on whether or not it's fun to just start it right off the bat. So I play about 5 to 10 hours with the game, and I'm just trying to give you an idea whether you're going to enjoy it right away or not. That, coupled with the fact that I think games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I also don't give scores to my reviews. Instead, I will be giving you an overview of what the game is. Then I'll be listing the pros and the cons of the game in my point of view, as all reviews are point of view. And then I'll be telling you whether or not I will be sticking with this game outside the purposes of this review. So, what am I reviewing today? Well, I'm really excited about this one. Metal Slug Tactics has just dropped into Game Pass. Metal Slug is kind of a cartoony, animated version of Contra in a lot of ways. The side-scrolling shooter that's very unforgiving and difficult. It's been in a lot of arcades. It started on the Neo Geo. It is a really cool stylistic game, and while I have definitely fed some coins into the arcade machines for Metal Slug, it's not something that I would call myself necessarily a fan of. They're awesome games. I like playing them, but it's not something that I'm in the deep lore on. That being said, they have just released through .mu, who is just on fire with retro remakes and sequels, Metal Slug Tactics, a tactics game in this kind of arcadey shooter world. And, well, let's get into whether or not it's good. So what is Metal Slug Tactics right off the bat? Well, Metal Slug Tactics is you have 3-person teams. You start with 3 characters unlocked with a bunch of other characters locked. That they become unlocked when you do certain things in the game. The game itself functions like a roguelite. As you move, there's 4 kind of big areas. Each one of those areas has their own map and enemy types, and then it randomly kind of generates on that large map where you start and what kind of different missions you'll be dealing with. What bad guys spawn there. There's a lot of different mission types, such as survival, protection, kill all the bad guys, destroy an objective, that sort of thing. And you never quite know what you're going to get. After you get through a certain number of the places on the map, a boss appears, and then you have to fight the boss in order to move on to another area. What's interesting about this is after you've done the first run through, unlocking the 4 different area types, you only need to do one area before you go to the last area, which is very interesting to me. You could skip the whole game, or you can spend your time going through all 4 in order to kind of beef up your stats. On the other hand, though, going through all 4 ramps up the difficulty each time, and by the time you get to that last one, you might be really hurting. So it's definitely a lot of trade-offs there. Of course, when you do a mission, there's a reward that is told to you ahead of time of what you get when you pass it. And then you can get new ammunition for your specials, extra health points, extra experience points, extra money to buy critical updates. And then, much like other roguelites, after you get through a level, you level up with your character, and then that character gets new abilities, new modifications, new stuff to make them cool. There's a lot of different types of mods and adrenaline and whatnot to go into here, so I'm not going to go into all of them. Just there's a lot of variety, a lot of chunky variety in the things that you can pick up through, completing the missions, the abilities and stuff. As far as in the battle, it moves on a square, kind of a square map, squared off map, and what's grid. What's really interesting about this, though, that separates it from other tactics games is depending on how much you move, you gain this trait called dodge. So there is no random roll to see if you hit the target or a target hits you. There's no percentage based on that thing. Most games like this, there's some sort of percentage depending on how much cover you have, other mitigating factors. In this, if they can hit you, they hit you, unless you have dodge and cover. Cover is just standing next to an item that the game has deemed cover, which is denoted by blue squares when you go to move. And dodge is the more move you take in a round, the more you build up this defensive capability. And then as people attack you, the dodge is depleted. So the idea behind this, and I kind of really thought this was interesting, we'll get more into it in pros, is that the more you move, the harder it is to hit you with guns because you're running, so you build up this dodge. And the more you move, the more defensed your character is. So you have to constantly trade off with putting them in good strategic positions because of V-sync abilities, meaning that if one character attacks a character and another one of your characters can also attack that character, they will get a free attack on the villain that the first character attacked. So you have to weigh positioning over defense, of just running around the map to get as much defense as you possibly can, but then not doing the best attacks, or positioning people with less dodge to do big damage. It's a very interesting sort of way to do things, and of the tactics games I've played, this is not something I've encountered before. As you play through the game, as usual, as any roguelite, you will be able to unlock money, currency that allows you to unlock new weapons, new loadouts for your characters, so weapon sets. Every character comes with a normal weapon that can just be used constantly, and then a special weapon that has a certain amount through the entire run, which you can get ammo back doing certain different missions with the ammo logo, but otherwise, once it's out, it's out. And that's the game. You just kind of do the run, come back through, do another run, unlock more stuff until you can get through the whole game. There's 3 different difficulty levels that you can go in with, which also increase rewards as you do it. But I found the game very challenging on the standard difficulty. So let's get into the pros and cons, specifically the pros, because I always like to start positive first. Right off the bat, I love the move defensive thing. It is, as frustrating as it is, and I'm going to tell you right now, if you've played a lot of tactics games before, you're probably going to find it frustrating at first and hard to get used to, just because tactics games are all about like that positioning, usually that putting your character in the right spot to get the the big double attacks and the widespread attacks and stuff like that. With this, you really have to balance, because there's just no way to defend your character unless they're standing next to cover, they have some sort of special ability, or they have run the maximum amount of move they have. So you really have to weigh whether they should be sprinting around, and you really have to try and find a way to have them all sprint around and still be in that good positioning for the good attacks. And it just makes your brain work in a different way that I found really engaging. It kept me coming back for more. My next pro has got to be the music. The music is at its glory. I don't think .mu has botched the soundtrack yet. In my opinion, this soundtrack is just as good. It's classic Metal Slug stuff, arcadey kind of Neo Geo music. Just really, really cool music. Takes you back and keeps you in the moment at all times. I thought, honestly, all the sound was really good. There's weighty explosions and big gunshots and nice sticks to when you stab somebody with a knife. It's a lot of fun when it comes to the music. My final pro is variety. I love the variety of this game. This game is absolutely the height of doing the maximum without doing too much, with a very little amount. There's really only the 4 areas, so you're only going to see a few types of extra enemy types. But the procedural generation of the maps, the fact that the maps kind of drop you at any different place, and that even if you get a map you've gotten before, because they're all handcrafted, even if you get a map that you got before, that map will have different enemies and maybe a different objective, I found incredibly cool. I've played 3 runs so far, and they've all been very different. The other thing that's really cool too is after you play through that first playthrough, with the exception of the final area, you can start in any of the other areas. So that makes things really cool. I also love the fact that I can avoid an area that I don't like. There's one area with enemies that turn your characters into mummies, if you can believe it. And I found that area really tedious, so I avoided it the second and third time. I thought that was really cool and exciting that I could just do that. I also like the fact that if you want to just do 2 areas, you can balance that with the idea of getting more abilities, but possibly spending more resources before you get to that last area. I thought those were both really cool aspects of the game. And again, like, so far no 2 runs have been the same. You know, you add in little things like unlockable story moments, character backgrounds, stuff like that. I think this game has a lot to offer, even though it's just the 4 areas. It's kind of I did a review on Ninja Double Dragon Gaiden. Not too long ago. And my biggest problem with that is I felt like after I played through it 4 times, I was done. Like, there was just nothing more that game had to offer, whereas I feel like I could play this one way more and I would still be finding new stuff, unlocking new stuff, especially with the character loadouts. Every character comes with 4 different sets of weaponry that you can try with them, which I thought was really cool. But now we gotta jump into the cons. I only really have one con here, because like I said, I really enjoyed this game. I didn't see any downside. There's one graphical bug that I noticed, but it's so minuscule, and I'm sure it is going to get patched out so fast that it's not even worth mentioning here. And it was that if my character died as a mummy, they would turn back into human and be standing like they were alive, but they weren't alive. That doesn't even... It did not affect my play in any way, shape, or form. That being said, the thing that did bother me was the locked characters. You start with the 3 characters. You unlock one other character after you play basically through your first playthrough, because you unlock all areas. And then after that, it's all these like little unlocks to get them. I don't like this. Especially in a game like this where you already have all this procedural generation, all of this kind of like all of these other things to unlock, such as loadouts and extra abilities and stuff. Just make the characters unlocked, or unlock most of them and leave just the most powerful 3 locked. I don't like this. I like the idea of selecting different characters and messing with that each time I go in. I don't like the idea of going with the same characters every time, especially if I know there's other characters out there that I might like more. I don't like locked characters that much, you know, especially in a game where you only have 3. Like, a couple of locked characters is fine, but every character that you can play in this game, other than the initial 3, are locked, and I don't like that. I don't like having to work for that. So, there's plenty of other things to work for, and the other thing I don't like is I can't even just save up a currency to unlock them. I have to do some special thing in the game, which I hate those kind of ones. Like, just allow me to pay for them with in-game currency, sacrifice maybe an ability purchase, and get that character unlocked. I'd much rather it be that way. So, brings us to the final judgment, whether or not I'm going to stick with it. I am going to stick with it probably for a little bit. I mean, I've got a few games I'm playing right now, but, you know, honestly, the end of this year has been a little drab for me. I'm boycotting Dragon's Age, so there's not a whole lot for me to be playing. And this one just, I don't know, this one is fun, it's interesting, I like the way it makes my brain think, and I love the music. It's just a fun, engaging game. So there you guys go. I know this was a quick one, but it's pretty straightforward. You guys can let me know if you what you guys think as to whether you think I got it right or got it wrong. You can comment below. You can also contact us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on X at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord, links in the description below, influence us and all of our shows from there. So long as you guys keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. We'll see you guys next time.